And the goal of BCLA, for short, Black Cultural Library Advocates, is to bring the Black community into the library, to let our community know that we have programming, we have collections, we have events that are tailored for the Black community. So that's who I am. And I am going to go ahead and introduce our guest today. First off, I'll start off with introducing Nicole Rose. Nicole is the founder of Ella Dean. She was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, and attended Portland State University, where she earned a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing. Since Nicole was a young girl, she always wanted to work in the beauty and hair industry. Her goal is to make a positive impact in Black hair care, in the Black hair care market. And Nicole in her spare time, she enjoys shopping, spending time with her loved ones, and watching hair tutorials on YouTube. Our next guest is Kelly Johnson. Kelly is a photographer, and she is, her work is very inspiring. It's simply divine. Her new collections of note cards and fine art prints will be coming to you soon, and they will make you smile. Ms. Johnson is also a nationally known children's picture book author and illustrator. Her books, Hair Dance, Look at the Baby, and Bumblebee, Bumblebee bring joy to all who pick those books up. Kelly's father introduced her at the age of 9 to photography, and she hasn't put it down since. She is honored with a number of skills. She's very talented. She's a native Oregonian. She's worked for the Oregonian newspaper, publishing company, and she is the granddaughter of Dean's Beauty and Barbershop. Kelly has a long history in Portland, and she is just a wealth of information and knowledge. And I just thought it was a time to bring this hidden gem to our programming for BCLA. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the program over to Kelly and Nicole, and they're going to take it over. Thank you all for joining us. Again, like Israel stated, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat as we go along, but don't be shy. This is an opportunity. We're honoring Kelly's grandmother and even her grandfather, her mom, for Women's History Month. It ends on the 31st, but this is history that we need to know about. Okay, thank you so much. Kelly and Nicole, you all can take it over.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Rose, the founder of Ella Dean.
Hi, I'm Kelly Johnson of Kelly Johnson Photography. We have a video that we put together that we feel is quite personal and historical about the foundation of Dean's Beauty Salon and Barbershop. We're both very touched by it. As we were watching it last night, you know, it was a little emotional looking back at the photos and the memories and the accomplishments in our community and what our family contributed to. So I want to say that we're going to start with the video. We're going to come back and we're going to have a good time. The shop was always about family, community, connection, and we want to represent that today. So take a look at the video. It's about 7 minutes long. We hope you enjoy it. We put our heart and soul into it. We're not experts, but if you have any questions about what you're seeing, we can trail back and we can talk about it later. So Nicole and I would like you to enjoy. Heirloom, Dean's Beauty Salon and Barbershop. The past, the present, and the future. The talk of the town. Rosie, can you do my hair? Kaiser stands firm on the Negro decision. I wish I could play in the flowers all day. Rose, we got the loan. Glory! Rose, I missed you. Ben, I missed you too. Thank you for the wonderful years. Much love, Gloria, Ella, Dean.
That was
Hello?
wonderful, Kelly. Thank you for sharing those wonderful memories. That was just unbelievable.
Yes, I find myself, when I'm watching it, because, you work so hard on something, and then when you get a chance to review it, it's quite emotional, it's quite touching, looking back at the beginning of a foundation that my grandparents started. They were really, really the kindest people that I have ever encountered. Um, I never saw them treat anybody unfairly, and they were so welcoming. So that's my memory of what that foundation of the Dean's Beauty Salon and Barbershop is. Um, Quite emotional, I've got to hold back the tears of reviewing it. And as I was pulling out photographs, you see all these memories. You see yourself as a child. You see my girls growing up and my mother throughout the years. My mother is the most vibrant person I have ever met. Um, Her spirit will carry on in me, my children, and hopefully one day some grandchildren and their children. She got her kindness from her parents and her love of community from her parents, and just a brilliant life, just a brilliant life. That I like to say the shop was of grace and ease, of family and connection, of unity. My grandparents were always reaching out to their fellow man, and I can remember them saying that to me like a mantra. Kelly, look out for your fellow man. Um, and they did that brilliantly, and I think they represented that daily. I never saw them not frown upon anybody. It didn't depend on what social status you had. They were welcoming to all. Nicole, what's your experience at the salon?
Being at the salon, to me, it was like a playground. It was very welcoming. A lot of the clients were very friendly. I never felt awkward or weird. I always felt very welcome, and they felt welcome too. It just felt like one big happy family reunion. And I would say like my favorite days to go visit was Saturdays. I loved it when it was so hectic and busy and nowhere to sit. It just gave me a chance to interact with the clients and get to know them. I also was able to play with their kids too. So it was fun. It's actually like an amusement park. So I really love being at the shop every single Saturday. It was a very good experience. What about you?
For me, I mean, amazing. I literally grew up in the shop, and I started working there when I was 12 until I was 16.
Mhm.
And truly amazing. There was a family and they still live there. I was reading on something about them, and the Oregonian, the Matthews family. They were from Hood River, and the mother and father had 22 children.
Mm.
That's a lot of people. and they would come into the shop on Saturday, and you're talking about busy. They brought the kids, and they had sons and daughters, so they're getting a haircut, getting the, as my grandma said, everybody come on in, let's get them all beautified. And I was rushing around getting towels and putting people under the dryer, taking out rollers, and they had other clientele as well that day. The Matthews family was just one of the, just the family, one of the families that came in, but they had other customers. And now I'm wondering how they did that much work on a Saturday. But as my grandmother would say, she was very business. She would say, well, we have Sunday to go to church and Monday to rest. And she said, and Tuesday, we'll be back at work. And my mother would be like, Mama, I have 3 children. And she would say, yes, but you know what? We take care of these kids. And she said, and because of this, we'll always have gratitude. We can send the kids to college. We can take them on trips. It was the greatest experience being around that much warmth. The clientele was warm. I used to get lunch for everybody. Everybody would pull out their money, and I'd go around and I'd take orders. Huge. I wash out the comb and brushes. I'd clean the shop, sweep up. I'd go over to the barber shop and sweep up all the hair for my grandfather. I was busy as a bee. And I worked 1 day a week. When I started at 12, I worked 1 day a week. I rode my bike from my home because it wasn't that far from the salon. And it was beautiful. It was educational. I'll tell you this, I was never the best math student, but my grandmother straightened me out about that math because she made me count. She said, now you count everybody's money. And then she said, and then you're going to count back their change. And that's something they don't do today with kids. Is it all's computerized, and they just know to give you $1.29 back. My grandma said, you will count it back. And I would count back the, I was so nervous. And she also was the most grooming and inclusive person. Everybody that came in there, it didn't matter what color you were, she welcomed you. And my mother was so welcoming. And my mother has the most, she has a smile that just brings you in. And I can always remember people coming up to her. Sometimes they would just be passing by the shop and they'd stop in and they'd say, oh, hi, Gloria. Hi, Mrs. Dean. I said, I just came in to give you guys a hug. You don't see that a lot anymore. And that's like the most beautiful thing, that people can walk past your business and know that their experience was so great that they just want to give you a hug. And I'm telling you, it has enhanced my life. Being with them has enhanced my life. When Nicole was born, she was named Rose after my grandmother, Nicole Rose. And I'll tell you this, she embodies so much of my grandmother's character: marketing, sales, communication, customer service. And to this very day, I haven't seen a lot of the customer service like my grandmother gave. I mean, she could reel people in. She was so pleasant and laughed. And some people called her Mrs. Dean. Some people just called her Dean. Some people just said, hello, how are you? And she would say, rest your coat. And you know what that meant? Old timers said, rest your coat meant, come on in and hang up your coat. We just say, put your coat somewhere, hang it up, put it on a chair. She always said, rest your coat. And come on.
Kelly, I wanted to ask you, I saw in part of it in the video, what brought your grandparents to Portland from the South? I know my parents migrated from the South as well in 1955 to Portland, but what brought your grandparents to the?
Well, I tell you, times were difficult, in the South, and they loved the South as well. But you know what? They wanted a better life, plain and simply. They wanted a better life. They wanted to be in a place where it wasn't going to be so hard on them. With all the racism and things going on in the world, and they chose Portland. And my grandfather also knew that he could work at the shipyards and make a decent living. They had 3 children. So my grandfather came out first, and they were married, and they had 3 children, and he came out first. And he got situated and organized, and he started working. And then he sent for his family. And my mother said, I believe she always said she was 3. And she said, I used to see the soldiers, because it's wartime, I could see the soldiers, it's the 40s, walking back and forth on the train. And she said, the soldiers were nice to me. She said, they would say hello. And she said, I can remember waving at them. And I said, at 3, Mama? And she said, of course, at 3. So, you know, my mother has quite a personality. She's very warm and generous, and she's quite a storyteller. I love her stories. I spent my life listening to her stories, beautiful, dynamic stories. So they came out on the train, and they lived here. My grandparents, they got organized. My grandmother already had her beauty salon license, her beautician's license. So she worked in her home. And my grandfather went to school, I believe, and he also was working. Yeah, he was going to barber school, and he was also working and taking care of a family. And we also don't see a lot of that anymore like that. And so he did that. He got his barber's license, and they wanted together. They had a dream. They had hopes, desires, ambition. And I mean, these people, they were ambitious people, and they were kind people, but they were ambitious. They wanted their own. And so the way they told me, and the way I've heard throughout the years, that my grandfather could not get a loan in Portland, Oregon, because of his color. And so he had went to many, many banks. And the last banker asked him, he said, "Mr. Dean, why do you want a loan? Why would a colored man want a loan?" And my grandfather answered, he said, "To take care of my family, to give them a better life." And the banker said, "You know what? I'm going to give you the loan." And my grandfather, he went home and he's like, "I got the loan." And from there, these people, they had a high school education. They didn't go further than high school. They graduated from high school. And I'll be quick. I have a million stories, so I'll try to be quick because I know time runs fast. But my grandfather graduated from high school when he was 20 years old. Why did he graduate from high school at 20 years old? His father passed away, and he was the oldest child. And his mother said, "You have to take care of the rest of us." And my grandfather had the greatest disciplined spirit. He said, "Okay." Now, how many people would do that? And then he went back to high school and graduated at 20. Most people would have said, "I'm too embarrassed to go back to high school," and graduated at 20. He went back to high school, he graduated, and then so I'll jump ahead again. And then they wanted to design, when they got the loan, they also wanted to design the building. They wanted that building to say Dean's Beauty Salon and Barbershop. We did it. So they designed the building together. They didn't have design skills. They didn't have architectural skills. But it is a great sound building. It's a magnificent building for high school graduates back in the 50s, and moving to the Pacific Northwest from the South. What an accomplishment. How great is that? What do you think about that, Nicole? In your world in today's, in this society we live in the climate we live in, what do you think about? Well, their accomplishments. I mean, how do you see it from your view? Because you didn't really meet them at their peak of their glory.
I think their accomplishments are outstanding. I would say from the stories that I've been told, it has inspired me to start my natural hair care line, or really just to start my own business. I come from a family of business owners, executives, CEOs. So it's a lot of pressure, but it makes me want to be like everyone in my family. And it also gives me that encouragement that I can do it and anything is possible. So I'm thankful to have great grandparents who set that tone and standard. And then also from my grandmother who set the tone and standard for her children and grandchildren. And now here I am today with my own natural hair care line, expanding like crazy. So I have to say their work ethics definitely has impacted me in a very positive way.
Right. And I want to also allow for any questions or comments that those who are in the virtual realm, if you would like to ask any questions or comments, please feel free to drop those in the chat. We're just, again, I'm very thankful, Kelly, that you are with us today, because I've wanted to highlight your grandparents' business for a long time. It is definitely a hidden gem here in the Pacific Northwest. And I too, growing up on 12th and Fremont, my mom, your mother did my mother's hair. And I remember playing at the shop as a kid as well. So I just, to know that the business is still thriving and still in the actual location. It's just awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. And Tamara is correct. I met Tamara and her sister at the beauty salon and years ago, and we have been friends ever since. So that's part of that beautiful experience, that it was so welcoming that we could be friends for, I'm not going to tell Tamara and I's age, but we've been friends for a long, long time. I'm going to say since we probably like 9 or 10.
Yes, around 9, I would say so. And then I left and went to Texas for college and got married and didn't come home for 30 plus years. So
Yeah.
Coming back.
But I saw you a few times throughout the years. Yeah, and so what a beautiful blessing that that experience. So that's what the shop represents to me. That experience that many years ago has brought us together still in 2021. The foundation they built was so beautiful and so relaxing. It brought us to this moment. And I believe this, we're never in a room we're not supposed to be in. And so we're supposed to be in this room connecting and reminiscing and celebrating Nicole. Nicole is part of that journey, you know, it's going full circle. Tamara and I, we were just 2 little girls playing down at the beauty salon. We never knew there was going to be a Nicole. And so Nicole is here, and Tamara has a beautiful daughter. And this is just, I will say this, Tamara's mother is gorgeous. I can remember her, and that's how the shop was so beautiful. I can remember Tamara's mother coming in there, and she's gorgeous, and she had a great head of hair. You know, she has great, Tamara, does she?
Yeah, she does. She does. And thank you for that compliment, because I think my mommy is gorgeous as well.
She is. And Tamara looks much like her mother, almost like a twin. But it was such a dynamic experience. And so, trail back again, my grandfather worked at the Kaiser shipyards, and he made a living. But of course, you know what the time is in the 40s. And that was a difficult situation. You know, the clip I put in there, they had made a decision to let Negroes have skilled jobs. I'm like, whoa, wow. So, you know, the experience that our ancestors go through, our families, our grandparents and great grandparents, that's huge. They paved a way for us. And that's something we have to always look at and be excited about it. In my world, I won't let them down. I want to always represent the family and the world that I come from. And I want to represent that with the grace and ease. And I'm always going to be proud. Nobody's perfect, but I want to be an example. And I wanted to always be an example to my children. And so I'm proud of both of them. They're both of them. They have different journeys. My other daughter, she's more of an executive type, bosses us around a little bit.
Hey, Kelly, I have a couple of questions coming in from
some
of our participants. And I hope everybody's okay with me mentioning their name. This is from, I'm going to start from the bottom up. So this is from Beth. What a long line of extraordinary women. I wonder, given all you have learned from your experiences at Dean's, what have you learned about people and human nature?
Good question.
You want to go?
It's a great question. And there's a couple more after that too.
What I've learned about people is that everyone is very different, just like personalities, just from being at the salon. But then also when I got older, I was able to carry those customer service skills and knowledge to my job at the airport. And so that gave me a lot more knowledge of knowing that there are people who are different, they're not like me. And I just got to experience different types of customers, from happy customers, angry customers, sad customers, and just learning how to interact with them and how to care for them. And, you know, if I'm dealing with an angry customer, not be angry towards them, just try to understand. And I just think that's also why a lot of clients were attached to my grandparents, because they were just so welcoming and they didn't have like any negative vibes about them. They handled every customer accordingly and were very respectful to them and treated them the same. So that's just what I learned, is to treat people the same.
For me, don't take it personally. People are who they are. And sometimes they will come in, maybe they've come from an environment where they're projecting some of whatever maybe negativity on you. It's not personal. My mother, she used to tell me every day when I was growing up, she'd pass by me and she would say, Kelly, have gratitude. And you know, when you're a kid, you're like, okay, mama, yeah, I'm grateful. Can I go ride my bike? But as you get older and wiser, those words chime out. Have gratitude. I understand it today. I am grateful for the journey. The things that went wrong, I'm grateful for that because it gave me understanding. What it did for me, the shop and being around women like that, it empowered me. It empowered me not to have a fear of different things. You know, when I wanted to do the books, people were like, well, Kelly, you don't know anybody in New York, and you know, you don't have this and you don't have that, and you can't do it. Well, I was never taught to have fear. So I said, well, my mother said, try New York. And I said, wow, Mama, that is a little daunting, New York. And I said, I'll try the Northwest first. And the Northwest wasn't having it. They were like, no, we're not here. Your work is beautiful, but we don't want to publish you here. And I was like, okay. Then I tried California. And it was like, wow, this is beautiful. No, not here. And then a greeting card company picked me up. And I said, okay, we're starting. It gave me more empowerment to seek out. Well, my mother said, Kelly, New York is where you'll go. You start in New York now. You go to New York. You write to New York. That's what it does. That just so, and my mother's subtle. She's subtle, but when she puts those words to you with such grace and ease, because I can't listen when people are screaming. And my mother wasn't a screamer. Whenever she talked to me just like this. She said, that's what you'll do. And I said, oh, okay, Mommy. And she said, so here, she had address. She gave me she was reading a magazine. She was reading an article in a magazine, and she had a list of publishers in New York. And she said, okay, there you go. So it empowered me not to have the fear to work with people. I work with all kinds of people. It also gave me I'm blessed to be able to have that experience with them where I can be inclusive with people. And I can be equitable to people, and I can have that fairness, and I can have that generosity. And if it doesn't work out, maybe it wasn't supposed to work out. When you're young, stomping and screaming, you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, this didn't work out, and I'm angry, and blah, blah, blah. As you mellow out, you will understand gratitude. You'll understand when things don't work out. Maybe it wasn't supposed to. You'll understand the room that you're in. And that's what that experience of being around strong women gave me, understanding the room and the company that you're in. Now, sometimes we'll be in company that we shouldn't be with, and we stay too long, and we shouldn't, because then you're taking away your strength and your beauty and your glory and who you are. I learned that from those women. My mother is quiet. My mother is quiet, shy, kind of person. But when she gave me words, they're still with me. They're still with me. Some of the stuff she told me when I was 6, 7 years old, they're still with me. Sometimes just her saying, well, you can do it. No, rah, 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 no, you can do it. And I go, okay. And she said, so start here. So as raising my daughters and women, we know we have to put strength in them, because it's just a known fact. We get, sometimes we're taking a back seat in this world, in this climate we live in. And I don't want my daughters to feel like that. So they are go-getters. They're more go-getters than I am. This morning, Nicole woke up and she started telling me about my website. She reminded me of my grandmother. So that strength that they exhibited in front of us gave me strength and empowerment to be able to be a mother to my girls and not have them be shy. Their dad is great with that as well. When I was feeling a little, although the words of the shop, and I guess I trail back to this too. There were other women that came in the shop that had strength and beauty. Tamara's mother was one of them. I can remember what Tamara's mother looks like. That's how impressive she was to me. I can remember that she always stood up tall. And when she came into that shop, those are lovely experiences for me. Those are moments of strength. The only regret I have today about me in the beauty salon is that I wasn't well versed in my camera, because I would have been snapping those women like crazy at 9 years old. I would have been all over that shop. They would have said, get out of the shop for a while and go play with the other kids. That is the only thing, because my memory served me so well. I wish I had documented that beauty of women that I saw come in there. Nurses, secretaries, women working for government, school teachers. That's like the hugest education, and you get to hear them talk and what they're talking about. And I did learn this from nurses. They know a lot, and sometimes they do more than doctors. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but they would talk about that, and they would talk about the experience of being in those professions. And I'm a listener, and because I'm a listener, and sometimes I don't really go outside a lot. I would listen to the women talk. We couldn't really go over to the barbershop because of that time. The barbershop was for men, the beauty salon was for women. They would say, it started when I was 5 years old, because I'd sit and I'd listen. They said, here comes old lady Kelly. And they said, old lady Kelly, come on and sit down. And they let me listen, and they talked to me. And I think that empowered me for this moment, for this life, for the marriage that I have, for the children that I have. You know, I got married very young. I've been married for this July, 38 years. That's from being in that dynamic. That's from being around those empowering women. And I'm thankful. Like my mother said, have gratitude. I have gratitude.
Kelly, we have a few more questions in the chat as well. From Shirley, she's asking, who is running the shop currently?
The shop is run by my sister, Kimberly Brown, owned and operated. And like in the video, the baton has been passed. It has been passed.
We have another question from Tracy Rossi. I have built a career in mentoring underserved youth. Please share your thoughts about what role mentoring played at the shop. From Tracy, noted as Gloria Eladine's favorite niece.
Hi, Tracy.
You want to take that?
This like mentorship. What is
Yeah, we're going to the shop too.
I would say, in the way, for me personally, grandma was like a mentor to me, just because she taught me a lot about hair, but there was also special skills that I have when it came to hair that she didn't know about as I got older. So I would just say, just from watching her talk to her clients, watching her study different hair colors, just anything about hair, that was just, in a way, I felt like she mentored me without really knowing it. And she actually was the first person to teach me about natural hair when everyone else was getting relaxers. So I went natural in 2010, and she was the one that said, you know what, you should just go for it. And I promise you, in a few years, relaxers will decline in sales. You will see. Just go for it. Don't let anyone discourage you. And just for me doing that, I went natural, and then my grandmother was able to teach me how to style my hair better, how to keep it moisturized. So she definitely mentored me in many different ways. And I wish she could still mentor me now, but I think she has given me enough tools to succeed in my brand for sure.
Kelly and Nicole, can you all talk about the importance of hair care for the Black community, especially for Black women? Historically, culturally, our hair represents our crown. So can you all speak to that, please?
I'll let Nicole handle that. You know, I'm artistic, and so Nicole handled the hair question.
I would say natural hair care is very important. You know, we were taught for many years that straight hair was considered more beautiful than our natural hair, but we can't help what grows out of our scalp. Our hair grows out curly and wavy. We can't control that. And my grandmother said to me, if you have to chemically straighten your hair, it's not meant to be straight. That's just not what it is. You have to appreciate who you are. And so in today's world with natural hair care, I can say from my point of view, it's very frustrating going into local chain stores because there's not a lot of options for our hair type, or the products are locked up, or they're just not available. You know, a lot of hair care products are more popular in bigger cities such as LA or any city in Texas or even New York City or Miami, like those bigger cities, because they just feel like they have a lot more people, but we're important too on the Pacific Northwest. And so I really want to make my products easily accessible to the Black community and local communities throughout the Pacific Northwest. I want people to have healthy hair, have moisturized hair. I want them to have access to our type of products for sure. So I just think it's very important to embrace our true curls, our true hair, no matter if it's short, straight, curly, bald. We just need to embrace it because it's just who we are.
Thank you, Nicole. We have another question in the chat from Felicia Wells Thomas. My name is Felicia Wells Thomas. I work at Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon. We provide economic opportunities to underserved entrepreneurs or aspiring business owners. I didn't have an opportunity to meet Ms. Dean, but if Nicole is anything like her, she has a beautiful spirit. First impressions are lasting impressions. Nicole left an impression I won't forget.
Thank you, Felicia.
Hi, Felicia.
Did you have something to say about natural hair too?
Yes, my hair is natural. I just run a blow dryer through it. If I want it straight, and sometimes I wear afro, but it doesn't have any chemicals in it anymore. What has it been, 5 years maybe?
5+ years.
5+ years.
10+ years for me.
And I'm comfortable with it. I mean, do whatever you want to do to your hair, because guess what? It's your hair. And I think women are beautiful. I think we're all about what we want and what changes we want. You know, if I don't want to wear lipstick that day, then I don't have to wear lipstick. But if I want to change my lipstick color, I'll change my lipstick color. And that's what I feel about hair. You know,
Right.
I come from a place where be you. And whoever you are, then you let that come out and you shine that way. Like I said, don't dim your light. When you come in the room, you shine brightly. And if your hair does have chemicals in it, and that's what you want, then that's what you want. I'm for just people being happy with who they are. I think people exude, they shouldn't be judged, but people exude more of themselves and more goodness and more graciousness when they are who they are. So
Right.
Whatever you want to do with it, I mean, it's yours. It's on your head.
Kelly, I have another question. If Ben and Rose were still alive, what do you think their reaction would be to hair dance?
I think they would be so proud. They were just the greatest people. So anything we did positive made them happy. But hair dance, and it talks about them. And they were also, I want to say this, they were super humble people. My mother is humble as well. And I just think that they would be head over heels for it. They both called me by my first and middle name. And usually when people are called by their first and middle name, it means that they might be in trouble. But they said my name with such presence that I still feel it in my soul. When they would say, Kelly Ruth, come here. Hi, Kelly Ruth. They always call me by my first and middle name. I think out of all the grandchildren, I was the only one that they said, Kelly Ruth. That meant something to me. It means something to me. So for me to be able to, in 2007, even write about them, it just filled my heart up. I mean, soon as they said okay, the publisher said okay, and it went to print, and it came to then they send you a box of books, and you're looking at it, and you said, really, it's done. And I felt like I immortalized them in some ways. And I think that they would just be so happy that the people who dreamed of coming to the Pacific Northwest, who worked at the Kaiser shipyards, who did hair out of their home, who built this mom and pop's legacy, I think they would be tickled. They would just be totally tickled. And I could hear them saying, Kelly Ruth, you did that? And I would say, yes. And I could see them saying, well, come on, sit down at the dinner table and laughing and talking. I was super close to my grandmother. Like I said, I was down there every Saturday till I was 16 years old. And I watched her. And what a beautiful soul. And what a beautiful marriage. I mean, They were together. My grandmother didn't drive. They were together every single day. And I don't know
Wow.
how many of us can do that now.
Wow.
I think they
Well,
would be.
I'd like to ask Nicole, what is a special or favorite memory that you have with Elodie?
Well, my grandma, she gave me a stuffed animal puppy, which I still have in my closet, and I named him Puppy. And she would just go out of her way to sew him clothes. And I would say, Grandma, Puppy is cold. She'd say, okay, come on over. And so she would get her sewing machine kit, but she actually taught me how to sew. And she made him overalls, and it was so cute. So we always made outfits for Puppy. And so I'm very happy that my grandmother would take time out of her day, even if she was too tired, you could never tell, she would just get right to it. So I had a lot of special memories with her, but she really made me outfit for a stuffed animal dog that I thought was real, that I still have. I'll never get rid of Puppy.
That's a true
We
story.
have a question. I believe this is from you, Israel. They're asking, I know all hair types are different, but do you have any pro types of healthy, natural styles that you can share with us? Some pro tips.
Well, for me, when it comes to my hair, I don't do what most women do, which is wash or goes. I personally like to do braid outs. And, thankfully I get to work from home. So I get to keep my braids and my rollers in for a good week. And it helps prevent manipulation, because everyone knows when you manipulate your hair, it causes breakage. And so I highly recommend braid outs. Plus it prevents shrinkage and it lasts longer. And it also encourages elongation. I know you're supposed to embrace your shrinkage, but I am someone that's working on it, and I prefer to have my hair elongated. I also like buns, but not too tight. I haven't really got into twist outs, but a lot of people do recommend it. And then of course, I also just recommend like braids, so like box braids. But my number one go-to style are braid outs for sure. If you have to go somewhere, do it on the day where you're going to be home for 3 days straight, so your hair can be fully dry. And when you unravel it, it's going to be very beautiful and voluminous. I love it. I also have a question for you, Mom.
Oh,
Well, since you talked about hair dance, would you be interested in reading a page or two? Since you said, hair dance
for sure.
impacted you. If you guys don't mind, my mother's going to read a page from her book, Hair Dance. I am on the cover of it, and her book was released in 2007, and it's also available on her website for purchase.
We are at 1:56 p.m. So
Okay.
have a
So
some time
I'll
for
just
you
read
to
a little
do
bit of the intro then.
Please.
My love of hair
Thank
goes
you.
back. Ready? Yeah.
Yes.
My love of hair goes back to my grandparents, Benjamin and Mary Rose Dean, who dreamed of owning a successful business, doing what they enjoyed, hairstyling. Though my grandparents are no longer with us, and the salon that they founded in 1954, Dean's Beauty Salon and Barbershop, has remained in the family. My mother is the owner, and my sister is the manager, and it has to continue to flourish for more than 50 years. I'll stop there. They're in their 67th year. I'm grateful for the journey.
We love it. It's really
Wow, thank
impacted
you
us in
all.
a lot
Thank
of
you so
positive ways.
much. Thank you. This is a lot of history. Is
Uh,
there
you.
questions, comments? We have about 3 minutes and we can go a little over. If anyone has any questions, last questions or comments that you'd like to ask? All I can say is thank you. I've wanted to share your information for quite some time, and I'm just thankful that you all are here. We have Janice is saying thank you for sharing your history and photographs. Lovely, all. So
Thank you.
So much.
I mean, we have some talented artists here in Portland, and African-American Black artists are here. They have dynamic work, and I just wanted to highlight you all. Again, the Beauty and Barbershop is a hidden gem. It has been in the same location. And can you give the address again, Kelly?
Yes, 215 Northeast Hancock.
Yes, yes. And that is, that is a part of the heart of Northeast Portland. And it was the heart of Portland for the Black community when your grandparents came to the Pacific Northwest. The albino community was vibrant, it was rich, it had so much history. My parents were a part of that community as well. So I just thank you all so much. Message from Tracy. Thank you, Kelly and Nicole. Both of you are inspiring and reflect the high, strong values of the Dean legacy. And I couldn't agree more. Thank you all.
Thank you. It's
Any
been a
last
pleasure.
minute questions, comments, anything?
We do have one from Beth too that says, as empowering and inspiring. Thank you both. And I also wanted to just mention that we have a little survey for you about your time and this event, and I'm gonna drop in the chat. If you guys can take a moment to fill that out, we would really appreciate it so we can continue to bring more events like this to you.
And I just want to say thank you to all. Thank you, Israel and Tamara and the Multnomah County Library for having us, and for everybody that showed up. Anytime we can get a chance to talk about positivity and in the community, it's a blessing, and we feel honored. I feel honored that I shared some of my story, and I feel honored that Nicole Rose, my daughter, is moving forward in following her history, her legacy, her heirloom, and being a positive force in this climate that we live in. So thank you, Tamara and Israel, and to all the people that attended. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
all.
if you want to know more about my hair products, just visit my website at eladine.com. And if you're looking for lovely note cards and fine art prints, visit my mother's website at photographykellyjohnson.com.
I love this kid.
I know. Thank you for that information. Again, I cannot say thank you enough.